everyone, my name is Gabby and today I'm going to be bringing you my vlog and review for Impractical Jokers, the movie. Thankfully, because the movie was playing in Chicago, I got to go out and see it opening weekend, so I decided that I was going to take you guys along with me for the ride. I have about 2 minutes of vlog footage and then we can dive in and discuss the movie. So without further ado, I'm gonna roll the footage.
We're at the theater! I'm so excited to see the movie. It's gonna be so good! Yes!
Status update. So we got out of the movie a while ago, and now after some troubles finding the right bus to take, we are inside the American Girl doll store waiting to get into the Cheesecake Factory. I haven't been in here in years. Look at this display up here, if I can tilt my phone all the way. Oh, I love the American Girl doll store. We're gonna walk around. Oh my. Finally sitting down at the Cheesecake Factory, like an hour. We waited like over an hour, I think, to get seated, but it's really crowded in here, and we have avocado egg rolls, and they are fantastic. So yummy. So good. Yes. Ariana's trying her first bite of Cheesecake Factory cheesecake, and we are getting it on camera.
Okay, I am slicing down. This is red velvet cheesecake.
And it's good. I've had it before and it's good. Okay, so if you can't tell, a lot of that vlog footage actually has nothing to do with the actual movie. And I decided to keep it in just because it felt very similar to what the theme of the movie was, which is just this experience of going out and doing fun and crazy and stupid things with your friends and enjoying it because you're surrounded by people who make your life better. And that's exactly what this day felt like for me. And I was just so glad that I got to go out and see this movie and get to be a small part of this movement that has been going on online. So if you're not familiar with Impractical Jokers, there's essentially been this movement that's been going on called #BreakTheBoxOffice. The idea is to get as many fans as possible to show up to the theater opening weekend because the movie was being released through a limited release, which means that there's only a certain amount of theaters across the United States that are showing it. And the idea is that if fans come out and show up, eventually the movie will release nationwide and it'll be a lot more accessible to people to go and get to see it. As of right now, the guys have made over $2.5 million at the box office, and a large part of that is because of fans going and seeing the movie 2, 3, 4 times in theaters, buying tickets for other fans, tweeting about it online on social media, and watching those fan movements unfold is one of the big reasons why I want to go into A&E journalism, because there's something so special about it, and I think those fan movements really encapsulate what the show is about. It's very community-based. The crew that is a part of the show are such a big part of the family. You feel like you get to know the crew, you feel like you get to know the guys, you feel like you get to know the other fans, and there's just this amazing community there. And watching this movement as a whole bunch of people go out and support the film, and as the guys go out to theaters and surprise people, is just so cool, and is one of the really exciting parts about getting to join this community for the first time. So if you do not know, I just recently started watching Impractical Jokers in the fall, and within the matter of a few months I was able to binge watch through all of the episodes, and it's now become one of my new favorite things and is going to hold a permanent place in my heart because it is just so witty and ridiculous and fun and clever and also just so stupid at the same time, but you love it because it has this charm and appeal to it that makes it likable. All of those elements really transferred to the film, and is absolutely one of the reasons why I loved it. I think the big thing that this film does really well is that it's incredibly self-aware. There are so many good moments where the guys break the fourth wall and they're looking directly at you, the audience, because they are very much aware of the fact that you've been along on this journey, you know all the jokes, you get exactly what it is that we're doing here, and it's like that acknowledgement that they have with the audience that they get to have in a television show where they're sometimes having conversations with each other, but it also feels like they're having conversations with you, the audience member, and those fourth wall breaks were such a great way to get to communicate that without directly talking to the audience like the way that they do in the show. And I loved it. They were so witty and clever, and it just warmed my heart every single time. So along those lines, there's this running joke about Murray that essentially is repeatedly brought up. There's no resolution to it whatsoever, no commentary, it's just sort of there, and it really again fits into that idea of like, you the fans understand exactly what it is that we're doing here and understand why this joke is funny, why it fits into the shtick of the movie and this community that we've created over the past decade, and that's really cool, and I loved that, and it was again so hilarious every single time it was brought up. The first time that it was brought up I was like, oh, okay, and then the more that it goes on, it just gets funnier and more ridiculous, and I, again, just loved it. It was one of my favorite parts of the movie in terms of the scripted content, because that's another thing. This movie is a combination of scripted and unscripted content, and I think there was a lot of people that were very nervous about that and how that would impact the style of Impractical Jokers, because I think one of the things that people love about it is that it's almost entirely improvised. Yes, the challenges are sort of written and created and there's certain things that are planned ahead of time, but for the most part you're getting people's spontaneous reactions. You never really know what's going to happen, and people love that style of the show. It's why people are drawn to it. So this idea of having scripted material come in made some people a little bit nervous because you don't know how that's gonna impact the overall style, but I'm gonna be honest, I loved the scripted material in this movie and thought it was so brilliantly written. A large part of the scripted content actually comes in at the beginning of the movie, in which the guys go back to the 90s and they're at this Paula Abdul concert in Staten Island. Eventually, as things do, they go incredibly wrong, and the whole premise of this movie is that they go and compete on a whole bunch of hidden camera challenges in order to right that wrong that happened in the 90s. The costuming, the hair, the makeup, the whole 90s look was so funny. It was so great though. Like, and just in general too, the hair and makeup and costuming was fantastic. I think in particular, Brian's look in this movie absolutely just hit me, and I think a large part of it is because there's been this joke for years of like, Q looks like he's homeless. And let me tell you, that joke is dead because he looked fantastic in this movie. I loved his costuming choices. He looked so snazzy and I was living for every single moment of it. But that's in general just to say that it's so interesting to get to see what a team can do when they're given a lot more resources and a lot more capabilities to be able to take an already established brand and grow it and make it bigger and better. And you see that with the looks. All of the guys look fantastic, and just the things that they're able to do throughout this film. And it's so much fun, and the scripted content added in I think makes it even better, and I think it is a step up from what it is they're originally able to do before, because you're getting to see the guys act, you're getting to see them play off of each other, and all of those jokes and references and things that we love are still there, and there's also some really great heartwarming moments that come towards the end as part of the scripted content that I love, and it was just so well put together and assembled. But yeah, the scripted content was great, and I think that the nerves that a lot of people had were absolutely not warranted because it was done so well. And Chris Henchy as a director I think was phenomenal, because he was able to take something that was already established and be able to work his own magic in to be able to create this really fantastic final product. So props to him for helping to make this film what it was. There are lots of great moments in this movie, and one of the big parts of this movie that's really fantastic is the cameos. I'm gonna say for one that Casey Jost, who works on Impractical Jokers, I believe he's a comedy producer, he's written a lot of music for the show, he also runs Impractical Insider, so if you're a fan of Impractical Jokers, you know who he is. I think he has 2 scenes in this movie and he steals the show in both of them. His costuming is just fantastic, he just looks so great, has so much sass and flair, and just loved it. There's this joke that he made that I don't want to spoil because it was one of the things that I actually found really, really funny, and I think it's better that you don't know that it's coming because his delivery of it was fantastic. It was just so funny, and I loved getting to see him in this movie. Again, I love that idea of like, we're gonna bring people in who work on our show, who help to make the magic happen, and give back to them. There's this line that Lin-Manuel Miranda said in Drunk History that's really stuck with me, and it's, if I got a job, you got a job, and that ultimately really feels like what the vibe of this show is, and you know, the movie is as well, is that we're going to bring along with us the people who've helped to make us who we are and help to make us bigger and better, and get to share this with them. Joey Fatone has a cameo in the movie. Will Ferrell has a cameo in the movie. Jiggy, who has toured with the Impractical Jokers and opened for them, has a cameo, and I loved getting to spot those things because it was so much fun, and there's obviously a whole bunch of other Easter eggs and references that are scattered throughout the film that are so much fun to get to find, and it makes you want to go back and see the film a second, a third time to try to catch those things, because the first time you're just sort of watching and seeing how everything unfolds. So I actually think it'd be more fun to go back and see this movie a second time. So there are a lot of hilarious moments in this movie that I really loved. I think my favorite challenge in general was the like, did I get the job challenge, because all four of the guys have such wonderful moments in that challenge that are just hysterical, that had me dying. But I think if I had to pick out one specific moment that like really hit me, where I was like, no way, this is not happening, was with Sal and Jaden Smith. So obviously that's a running joke throughout the show. Sal had to get a Jaden Smith tattoo on his thigh as one of his punishments. So we get to have a little fun with that now in the movie, and Sal actually gets to meet Jaden Smith. And so that's sort of where I knew this was going, but what happens afterwards absolutely had me losing my marbles. I could not believe what was going on. I was like, there's no way. Like, I was at a complete loss for words. I was like, this is insane. The ending of the movie was crazy. It was just overall a really fun time. And again, if you're a fan of the show, you're gonna love this movie because it takes everything the show does really well and makes it bigger and better with the movie, because the guys are just given a lot more resources and capabilities to be able to do those things. And so it was a lot of fun, and I'm super pumped to get to go and see the film again, hopefully sometime soon. My hope is that it'll be released on digital at some point, that it'll start to be released into more theaters, and that'll be more accessible for audience members. But the initiative that's gone on in this opening weekend with fans has been crazy and so much fun to watch unfold. So if you went and saw the movie this opening weekend, please tell me your thoughts. I would love to know. I think that about wraps it up for this video. Thank you all so much for watching. My name is Gabby. If you want to follow me on social media, my links are down below in the description. If you want to buy books from me on Depop and potentially buy a title from me that I've discussed on this channel, that link is down below as well. If you want to check out some of my past reactions to Impractical Jokers, I will leave those linked down below as well. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you're having a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time in a new one. Goodbye!
I'm trying to find inspiration.